Hey everybody, Mr. Quick here. Today we're going to be looking at Eureka Math / Engage New York Math, Module 3, Lesson 2, Real World Positive and Negative Numbers and Zero. In Lesson 1, we talked about number lines. We talked about zero, and we talked about how numbers such as 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth are positive, and the negative numbers are to the left of zero on the number line, meaning that they are getting smaller and smaller. Numbers that go to the left get smaller, right? If you can't remember that, just look at a number 4 and then look at a number on its left, like 1, and say, whoa, well, 1 is on the left and it's getting smaller, right? So -1, numbers like -2, -3, and -4. And we talked about how they are numbers are considered opposites if 0 is in between them and is an equal distance. So for example, let's look at 3. Well, 3 is 1, 2, 3 spaces away from 0. So what is 1, 2, 3 spaces? 1, 2, 3 spaces away from 0 to the left of 0? It's -3. So -3 and +3, or just 3, are considered opposites. Today we're going to look at some of these real-world applications for negative and positive numbers. Negative meaning you're taking numbers away, positive meaning you're gaining numbers. So here's a little story. I'm going to read it out loud, and I'm going to tell you what would be a negative number, a positive number, or a 0, which is considered neither negative nor positive, to go along with these real-world examples and why. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because I want to do another example of something similar to this on our next slide, and I want to make sure you have access to this. But you can always go back and rewatch this if it goes a little bit too quickly. For Tim's 13th birthday, he received $150 in cash from his mom. So he earned $150. So that's going to be a plus 150, right? That's a positive number. He was given that money. That's a gain for him. Positive numbers are greater than 0. 150 is certainly greater than 0. So positive 150. His dad took him to the bank to open a savings account. This one's a little tricky because you might be thinking, well, he's going to put the 150 in it, right? Well, we don't know that yet. When you open an account, you have 0 in it. You have to put the money in the account. But when you first open it, you have $0 in it. So, there we go. Tim gave the cash to the banker to deposit into the account. That's going to be a deposit. Deposit is a plus 150 into the account. Now, it's a negative 150 from Tim's wallet that he has on hand, but it's 150 added to the account. The banker credited the new account with 150. So that means he's putting the $150 in the account and gave Tim a receipt. 1 week later, Tim deposited another $25 that he earned as his allowance. So he's adding $25 into the account. So that's a plus 25 for the account. The next month, Tim's dad gave him permission to withdraw $35 to buy a new video game. Well, if you're withdrawing money from your account, that means you're taking it out of your account. So you are subtracting it. So that would be like -35 coming out of the account. Tim's dad explained that the bank would charge a $5 fee for each withdrawal from the savings account. So that's another -5, right? They're taking away $5 from you. And that each withdrawal and charge results in a debit to the account. Debit is taking away, right? So that's negative. A withdrawal is negative. So if you're taking out of the account, that's negative. Like it looks like subtraction, it is subtraction. If you're adding to the account, well, that looks positive, right? It looks like the addition symbol because you're adding money to the account. Just makes sense. All right. I know that was fairly quick, but that was kind of just a real world example, right? So what I want to do now is let's just go through this real quick and see if we can figure out what he ended up with, right? He received 150, so that's positive 150. he opened a bank account. It started at 0, but he put the 150 in the account. So a week later, he added another positive $25 that he had earned, so he put that in his account. So now he's at $175 in the account. He was then given permission to withdraw $35, so that's a negative 35. And every time you withdraw, you get charged a $5 fee, so you're losing another 5, right? So 175, take away 35, take away 5, then gives us 135. So at the end of all of that, he has a positive $135 in his account. Okay, on this next page, it gives us some events, and then we're supposed to add the integer, basically meaning the number, the whole number we're going to look at, and then add that on the number line. So let's do that together. Okay, open a bank account with $0. So you're opening a bank account, but there's no money on the account. So the integer there, that's an easy one. That would just be 0. Number line model, whether you want to start at 0 or put 0 in the middle, you label it. Let's see, 1, 2, -1, -2. And make sure you fill in that space to where it's really obvious that that's where you're going to put your dot. Make a $150 deposit. So that's going to be 150. I was writing plus 150 just to kind of show you that it was positive. If you just write 150, you know it's positive. If it doesn't have a negative symbol, you know it's positive. So we could, we always want to have a 0 on there, right, for a scale. We could start at 0. Now, if we want to add 150, would it make sense to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Right? Would that make any sense? It would not, because then you'd be drawing a number line forever if you did it every one. So we could say, we could do it by 25s. 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, and make sure we mark that very clearly on the exact spot. It wouldn't make sense to count by ones if we're going all the way up to 150. Credit an account for 150, meaning you get 150 credited to the account. I'm not going to redraw it because it would look exactly like that. If you had counted by tens, could you do that? Absolutely. You'd be drawing more digits on there, but you certainly could do that. Make a deposit of 25. Well, that's a positive 25, right? Because you're adding 25. So again, you can do 0. This one, it might make sense to say, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Add my spot there. Now, I'm going to erase that. Take a look at that real quick. And let me show you something. What scale you choose matters. We wouldn't say 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, and then 25 would be like right here. Because that's really hard to tell what that is, and it doesn't make sense. You don't need to go all the way up to 400 when you're trying to model just a positive 25, right? So going by 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Being able to model where that is in a way that makes sense and it's easy to see the scale of it is definitely beneficial. The bank charges you $5, so they're taking away $5. So we have a -5 here. So in this case, we're going to put our 0 in the middle. We might have 5, 10, 15. Over here we have -5, -10, -15. Make sure we mark that clearly. And then Tim withdraws 35. Well, if he's withdrawing, he's taking it out, taking it away. So then again, we want to show 0. We might have -5, -10, -15, -20, -25, -30, -35. Now, that's a little sloppy, being honest with you, and then you want to go on the positive side. But that's also mainly just because it's hard to write on the iPad. Writing with pencil will be a lot easier. But you want to make sure that you mark exactly on the number line where the number is. You don't want it to be close, you want it to be exact. So if this line here represents negative 35, you want your dot to be exactly right there, and you want it to be labeled clearly. Okay, that's all I have to talk to you about on the video, but in class we will look at some more examples and go through some different problem sets and kind of check this out a little bit more in depth. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.